If you're choosing people who aren't choosing you, the good news is this video is gonna help you change that dynamic. Not only is it gonna do that, but it's gonna help you actually get to that connection you're really looking for. The issue that's happening on why you keep choosing people who aren't choosing you is not what you think. But in this video, I'm gonna be visually breaking down the dynamic that's happening energetically, helping you understand where it comes from, but most importantly, helping you to understand how to move out of it. The more you understand about yourself and what you're really needing in these moments, the less you're going to find people who can't give it to you. I lived so much of my life in this same dynamic, so much suffering, so much sleepless nights, so much sadness. So I absolutely resonate, and I'm going to be sharing with you what I learned that helped break this cycle and ultimately manifest a secure, loving relationship. So let's get started. If you're anything like I used to be, this is the dynamic I would find myself in. I would find somebody that I like or was attracted to, and I was like, yes. I get very obsessive, very attached, because I had this idea that being in a relationship with them or being with them would make me feel better. Now, what I would find is kind of like very inconsistent, like energy coming back to me, hence the dotted line. Sometimes it would go, then it would stop, but it would go, and it was very confusing. Or maybe there was just actually a complete lack of it. They would give a little bit, but I was giving more than them. What this made me think, oh, I should just do it more. So I was actually willing to go all the way over there, even if they were giving me very, very little, because I had this idea that I had to earn my love, that I had to prove myself. And if I could prove myself, if I could prove my worth, then they'd be like, oh my gosh, then I'm gonna give. I thought that they actually possessed and could give me what I wanted. They just were holding back because I hadn't proved it. I hadn't earned it. I hadn't shown enough. Because if I did, then they would give back to me. So I would do this over and over. What I didn't understand at the time was this idea that I was actually self-abandoning. And that might not make a lot of sense to you because you're like, no, I'm actually trying to do something good for me. How could I be abandoning myself? You really have to understand the idea that when you're afraid to be abandoned or you fear you might be abandoned, in this situation, you're anxious or you start to compare, maybe if I did this better, maybe if I was this person. That is actually the energy of jealousy. And the energy of jealousy can change your life in this dynamic, because even though it doesn't feel like it, because even though there's not another person involved, jealousy is the fear of being abandoned and feeling anxious, suspicious, distrusting, or you start to compare yourself to other people. I was in one category, which I would compare myself to other people, trying to be better, trying to do this, or oh, maybe they like that other person. And I would also get extremely anxious at any perception that this person was going to leave. So I would try to do more and more and more. But all of that energy was leaving myself based on what this person would do. They had the authority because my sense of safety, my sense of peace and stability was dependent on them. And I continued to choose people who were showing up inconsistent. But when I really started to look at it, I was being inconsistent with myself. Why did we have this impulse? Why do we have this dynamic? Well, let's look at the origins. Let's take a little story time back to little you and little me. The big thing here is our upbringing, our actual environment, what it looked like if we were to go back as strangers and look at the environment. It could be dramatically different than we actually experienced it. And all that matters is the perception that you had of who you needed to be, how you needed to be, because this person, your caregiver, your early on environment, they are literally your life. Your physical survival depends on them, their ability to take care of you physically, as well as how they accept you or don't accept you. So this could also mean you leaving your needs, you leaving yourself to fit in. I've got to disown this part of myself because they don't like it. Maybe if you're really outgoing and you sing a lot and you use your voice and they're like, quiet, that hurts my ears. I'm just trying to have peace. And you're like, oh my gosh. Whew, I'm just a quiet person. I don't like to express myself. These caregivers could have been emotionally overwhelmed and going through their own shit. They could have been a very loving parent, but been distracted by something else. Who had emotional needs. However, when you went to connect, maybe you wanted to show them something and they just were maybe kind of aloof, or maybe they got irritated because they'd had a long day at work, or maybe they projected a lot of their shit on you. Either way, they were emotionally unavailable. They did not have what it took to meet your emotional needs. You might have felt you needed to earn or prove yourself to get their attention. Maybe there was a sibling and you felt like you were fighting for attention. That could actually be echoing in this dynamic with a third party. So if you perceived that you had to earn their love, if you had to work really hard, and if you did, then they would give you the emotions that you're looking for. This is creating a dynamic. It's creating a concept. It's creating a psycho-cybernetic, basically your set point. This is your introduction to relationships. We're not blaming this person, but we got to see you clearly. What did you go through and what lenses did you store and basically were impressed upon you on how relationships work, how you're going to be treated. The more and more you relate differently to this experience and realize you were always whole and complete, you've always deserved it. If this person couldn't give it, that's not what you deserved. That was their limitation, and they're a human being. So we all are imperfect. Another thing that might have happened is you might have learned that you had to pursue them. You had to leave yourself. You had to constantly stay connected to this person because you were unsure when they might leave emotionally. This person could have physically left, and they also could have just been emotionally in another world. So you constantly, almost hyper-vigilant, checking in to say, okay, are we okay? Because again, think about it, your safety depends on this person. So you checking in and kind of adapting through these things so that you can fit in. So the dynamic is emotionally unavailable. You have to earn or prove yourself to have this relationship or this connection. And the idea that you're chasing, that you're pursuing, or even being hyper vigilant on this connection so you don't lose it. What does that sound like? It sounds an awful lot like this person in this relationship or this attempted relationship that you're wanting, where they're not choosing you. This person is emotionally unavailable. Again, you're trying to prove or earn their approval or attention, or prove that you're worthy of them giving back and choosing you. You chasing or pursuing or being hyper fixated. Why? Because just like early on, this is fitting that same dynamic, that emotionally unavailable, earning, chasing, and you are thinking that your safety relies on this person choosing you. Even though you're not in this dynamic anymore, since you're unaware of this, you feel that your sense of safety and stability is in this person. Not because that's true, but because this early on echo of relationships is getting pushed up. And that's also what happens. So you might also find that when around friends or coworkers, everything's fine. And maybe even when you're single, things are okay. But when you get in relationships, this stuff comes up. The good news is you're not doomed. You're okay. You can have a loving, secure relationship. However, because of this relational trauma, and that just means that basically something happened and it shifted the way you could be naturally in the world. Again, who do I need to be? And you're now still relating to who you can be through this other person, continually to choose somebody, hoping that they'll show up. But what does that reflect about you? Well, you're still relating and have your inner authority based on somebody else's opinion, their expectation, and really who you need to be so they'll give back to you. The great news is you can totally change this dynamic. Even your awareness of it is going to be powerful. Oh my gosh, I start to feel anxious. I start to feel unsafe. And so I actually start to pursue this person more. And this is where you can tap into the power of neuroplasticity, and that being you can restructure, you can stop firing wiring from this past when you become aware of that impulse in your present. And what does that mean? That means the impulse to, I'm starting to feel anxious. I think that they're gonna ghost me. They're not choosing me. Oh gosh, I'm gonna spend, I'm really wanting to take that energy outside of me, but what do I know? I'm gonna self-abandon. And if you know that you get a reflection of who you are being, and you're not staying connected to yourself, you're going to get a reflection of people who aren't staying connected to you. And another thing here is I actually kept finding people who were emotionally unavailable, and I had to realize, oh my God, I'm emotionally unavailable to myself. I keep leaving me. I'm so afraid to find somebody who is there for me, because then they'll see me. And if they see me, then they can really reject me. So I kept finding people who wouldn't choose me. So that was one massive thing for me that I had to realize and own and start to really work on those beliefs that were clouding how I really saw myself. So again, if you get that impulse, I'm trying to look over there for safety. Nope. The safety is within me. I need to take that energy and bring it back to me. I'm going to stay with myself. Polarity of jealousy, that fear of abandonment, and then you leave yourself, that energy of jealousy, the polarity is duty. So what can you do right now to take care of yourself? Maybe it's about going for a walk and just letting those energies move through you. Maybe it's about a somatic breath work technique that can help you stay grounded in those moments. Maybe it's about going to the gym. Maybe it's about creating something with your hands. Maybe it's about calling a friend and meeting up. You're not trying to dismiss and avoid the feelings, but what you're trying to do is keep that energy with you. You're trying to take care of you. Because early on, what you were doing is you were trying to be taken care of because you didn't have the tools necessary to take care of yourself. So you needed to outsource it. So naturally, that authority was outside of you. But now what you got to do is you got to own your inner authority and realize so the source of all the feelings you want to experience exist within you. They don't come from outside. Anything outside only amplifies them. So if you're looking for this person for a sense of stability or love, safety, you've got to tap into those things within you, and that's what will actually start to magnetize them. It'll start to draw them to you. You'll create space because it's actually natural in your electromagnetic, your toroidal field that's happening energetically around you. If you don't, if you're like, oh, I need you, I'm going to chase you, you're going to leave you, and you're going to continue to find people who are emotionally unavailable, who ghost, who are inconsistent because of that echo of what you're doing to yourself, simply because it's unconscious. The more you take the energy back to you and ask, how can you take care of yourself in this moment? The more you will actually get to the wounds and get to that pain and feel it so you can start to heal it. And the more you do that, the more you'll find people who are open and ready to choose you and be in a relationship and love and adore you the way you deserve. If you've experienced this dynamic a lot and you've had a lot of rejection, this next video right here is going to help you better see the truth of yourself within those experiences so you can start to own that inner authority. Thank you so much for watching. I love y'all. If you like this video, click like. If you haven't done so already, join this community, and I will see you on the next one.